Hello, and welcome to episode 51 of A Tonic for Lunacy. If you are watching me on YouTube, welcome. I am going to share my chart. If you're not watching me on YouTube, that's okay. You can just listen to me talk. I love doing these podcasts like from my couch with a cup of coffee because it feels so much more intimate than like sitting in my office with 15 computer screens, MG style. Okay. So today, what I want to talk about is if I had to do it all over again. And this is going to be a little bit weaving in a little bit of my story, giving you some details because we're all secretly super curious about other people's lives. Um, I'm an open book, so ask me anything. But what I wanted to share is kind of like if I had to do the whole healing journey over again with human design, where would I start? Because I didn't find human design for a few years into my healing journey. So, those of you that know my story, it kind of starts at my first Saturn return, which was at 29, exactly 10 years ago. And I call it like when I came online, it was like when I realized that I had choice. It was like when I realized that I don't want to say like alive, like I knew that I was alive. It's kind of when I figured out I needed to go to therapy, that like there were parts of me that I wanted to change. It was when I was conscious that I wanted to change, that I wanted to create something different, that I wanted to manifest, that I wanted to do all these things, but that I needed to heal first. So I went to therapy. It's my first time in therapy. And I remember like talking about like my life. And then we got into childhood. And, I have no memory. So a lot of you already know that. I have no memory of my childhood. So we did a lot of EMDR, which didn't do anything for me. I was like, I don't get this. This does not work. I know a lot of people have had amazing results with EMDR. So I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it didn't work for me. Um, and I remember clearly her validating my trauma, which was huge. No one had ever told me I was traumatized. No one had ever validated that what happened or what I went through or the environment was not conducive to a healthy adult. So I remember being so angry, like so mad at my parents that they didn't tell me I was traumatized. And those of you that know my story know that like I was born in Israel. I came to America when I was 8 years old. I don't have memories, but I do remember fabrics and I remember smells. I remember the smell of the gas mask when I lived in Israel. This was the Gulf War. We lived right on the border of Lebanon and Israel. So lots of things, right? There was moving, like just like a lot of stuff in 8 years, right? And like your first 8 years, which are your formative years, like that is when you are a sponge. That is when you are just collecting information. That is when you are creating stories about yourself. That is when your subconscious is taking it all in and is saying, how does this affect me? Like, who does this make me? What does this mean about me? So obviously we came to this country, we didn't have anything. Parents worked a lot. There was a lot of like emotional unavailability. And I've talked to so many people that experience this with their mothers specifically. And I remember just being so angry, and not knowing what to do with it. And I felt like therapy alone was not helping. Like, yes, we could talk about it and talk about it, but all I did was cry. And I never cried ever. So, like, I would literally just go there and cry. Um, so I wanted something more. So I started exploring like all kinds of spirituality. Um, I did, like the chakras. I did psychic workshops, mediumship. I took a whole group of classes on like mediumship and the spiritism, Caribbean spiritism, which is the study of spirits. We did seances. We did all kinds of stuff. Honestly, if you can think of it, I've probably done it. And now I know that to be my third line, right? Like I know that to be my man gen energy and my third line energy that's trying all the things. But back then it didn't feel like that. It felt like I was searching and searching and searching and not finding what I was looking for, which was me. I was looking for something that felt true, something that felt like me, something that felt like home, something I could belong to, right? Like something that I could have of my own because I didn't have any memories. And had, I really felt like I was floating. Like I was up here and I was not grounded because I didn't have anything to ground me because I couldn't remember who I was and what I've been through, which is such a mind fuck if you've been through it. So this is where like I have a video of a current program that we're running, right? Human design shadow for self-healing. Um, there's a video on the sales page. Actually, I'll play it at the end because it is really good. But this is kind of like what I talk about in that video. Like I talk about moving through a sandstorm or like moving through a desert and you're just fucking searching. You're searching. And like I didn't know that that was, like all I needed was a reframe. All I needed was a reframe of this isn't me searching for something. This is me experimenting. Like this is me having experiences because I'm a third line, right? Like that was the whole reframe that I needed in order to perceive it in such a different way and stop being so hard on myself that I'm searching and searching and searching and I'm not finding. And I'm not finding like, where is this thing that resonates with me? Where is my thing? So this went on for years, right? Like when I tell you I did every certification, your girl did every certification. It's that undefined ajna PhD life, right? Like give me everything. Also, I'm a line one. Um, oh God, I studied with like all of the online people. I did all the things, whatever. When I found human design, I heard it on a podcast and then I ignored it. And then it found me again. And I was like, oh, oh. And I wish that the information that is so readily available today was that readily available when I found human design because it would just, there was so much gatekeeping. So much gatekeeping. Like I found the book, but I read the book, but I didn't know how to use it. And then I had to learn and I had to teach myself. And like I was trying, like IHDS, no, thank you. That was a hell no from the beginning. But I had to really like watch other people and figure out all of these little nuances. And none of that is easy. You guys know, like none of that is easy. And it takes a lot of learning. So I was thinking to myself the other day, like, if I had to do it all over again, knowing everything that I know, how would my healing journey be different? And I'm going to show you. So let me share my screen. Okay, so this is my body graph. The first thing, okay, so let's say like I just turned whatever, I'm 39, I'm about to be 40. I'm still searching. I'm still looking for something that is mine, right? I'm still looking for some semblance of like me. Like it's so hard to explain if you haven't been in it. It's like a tireless search. And you don't even really know what you're looking for, but you're looking and you'll know when you reach it, right? Um so for me it was a lot about healing trauma. And I have come to this understanding around trauma. What most of us really need is to be validated. Yes, this happened. Yes, it was fucked up. you are correct in feeling the way that you feel. Your feelings are valid. This is valid. And that's really what everybody wants. And I remember when I first got that from my first therapist, it opened a fucking door, right? Of just pain that was there for 30 years that no one ever acknowledged, that no one ever talked about, right? I was the strong one. I didn't cry. And that really started the healing journey. So, what I would look to understand is okay, the trauma, right? Like, what have we been through? So, the story. So, I would write down my story. What is my story? What have I been through? What have I experienced? And honestly, what I would do is read it to another person and have them validate it, have them validate my feelings. So, that's non bodygraph related. Those of you that are familiar with my process, my practices, and HDS, like that's the shadow doc, right? Like that's what we do in the shadow doc. So in HDST and HDSS, I have you, we have a Google Doc where you write down, it's like a diary, like dear diary, blah, blah, blah. But we talk about traumas and we talk about your timeline and we talk about your experiences and we talk about how that's affecting who you are today. And what we do here is we validate you. You don't have to prove anything to us because we believe you. We validate your experiences, we validate your feelings, your emotions, and then we challenge you, right? And then we also challenge you to either see it from a different perspective or dig a little bit deeper or go a little bit to the left, go a little bit to the right so that you can see the big picture instead of just this little wound and you're just picking at it, right? So that's what the shadow doc does. Like we go back and forth where you write in and then I comment or Whitney comments and we just push you but validate you at the same time. And people have had massive, incredible results with the shadow doc. And honestly, I think part of it is like that it's not face to face. Like you have time to think about it, you have time to consider it, you have time to let things show up in your environment, and they will. And then go back to your shadow doc. And it's just continuous. So I really love that about the shadow doc. But anyway, that's what I would do first. That's what I would do first. And then I would look at how is this affecting me now? Right? Because that's what's important. How is this affecting me now? So I want to look at definition. So you can see here that I am a small split, which is incredibly important. So what I would do is I would focus on who am I being in this split? Who am I being in these bridges? Who do I think I need to be in these bridges? So if you are a single definition or a triple split, you're going to want to look at your undefined centers. Now, I still want to look at my undefined centers, but I'm going to look at them through the lens of my bridges. So let's use 57. Everybody knows 57. 57, the gate of the intuitive. Y'all, when I tell you I took every single intuition development class I could find because I thought that I was broken, that I couldn't hear my intuition, that my intuition was fucking me up and it was confusing me. And I didn't know what to do and I couldn't hear it right. And I took so many intuition development classes. I confused the shit out of myself when all I really needed was my sacral. So that's the next piece is like knowing where your intuition sits. And for me, it's in my sacral. It's in those sacral sounds. It's in that sacral fire. It's in that knowing in my body. But how can I know my body when I'm so disconnected from it? So getting a little bit ahead of myself. But while I look at these bridges and where I feel broken in these bridges, how might my undefined centers be feeding into them, right? So we're looking at the completely open solar plexus. How might my fear of confrontation, my avoidant personality, my inability to be intimate affect these bridges feed into it, right? Like if I'm broken and I can't hear my intuition, then I'm not going to share. I'm not going to share my insides. I'm not going to share what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling, what I'm seeing. I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to avoid the truth because I'm broken. I need to fix this first. I need to fix this first. I need to fix my intuition here first. I need to fix my self trust, right? That 57 shadow. And then I will have this conversation. But first, I have to make sure that it's right. It has to be right, right? I have to be certain first, this open ajna. I have to be certain that what my intuition is telling me is correct. It's such a mind fuck. And like, this is one of my favorite things to do with people is weave these bridges with the undefined centers because it's so potent and it's so powerful. And like, we create a little storyline and it just makes so much sense. And you're like, oh my God, like this is everything that I ever thought was wrong with me in this little tiny paragraph. That's something we're going to do in HDSS, human design shadow for self-healing. It's like HDST, so it's like the shadow training program that I do with 6 months long, where I teach you how to do shadow readings and how to incorporate it into your business. It's like that, but without the business piece. So this is just for self-healing. So it's going to be the shadow docs and deep into the body graph in terms of psychology, trauma, behavior, all of those things. So that's what we do in HDSS. We're going to lean into the bridges if you have them and create this storyline with the undefined centers. So if I had known that this was not self behavior, it would have saved me thousands of dollars and years of self-hatred. Because here's the thing that happens when we're searching and searching and searching and we think that we're broken is that we're so hard on ourselves and we just keep, pummeling. Like, it's just like, I visualize it as like I just keep fucking up. I just keep messing up. Why can't I get this right? Why isn't this my thing? This doesn't make sense. Right? Like, why can't I find it? Why can't I make sense of this? There's something wrong with me. I'm fucked up. So you just keep rolling and rolling and rolling in these not self behaviors, whether they're in your bridges or they're in your centers, your undefined centers. That is where we need to do the deconditioning work and recognize, oh shit, this is my not self. So in our undefined centers, we want to decondition because, and here's another layer to it that I wish I'd known in the beginning. I learned this, right? In my first 7 years, I learned this by amplifying other people's emotions, by amplifying other people's energy in my bridges. I learned this. So all of the places where we've amplified and we've learned is where we need to decondition. And this is the map part, right? Like, this is where like I visualize it as like I'm mapping these things and like connecting them with like little pins, like I'm a fucking detective. Is that it affects my definition. Look at my completely lit up G center. I'm missing one gate. Well, I guess I'm missing 3, but there's a lot of definition in my G center. Like, girlfriend should know who the fuck she is, right? And I do now. I do now. Not only do I know, but I really like her. She's great. Love her. Definitely have the confidence, definitely have the self-love. Like, all of that is great. We're doing it. But it wasn't there before because all of the conditioning in my bridges and in my undefined centers affected my definition. And this is what nobody talks about, and I wish they would. That your undefined centers, your not self in the undefined centers affects the frequency that you're able to play in with your definition. So think of it as gene keys, right? Think of it as like a frequency, the shadow, the gift, the city. That's what we have in our definition. And if I'm operating out of the not self of my undefined centers and my bridges, then I'm also going to be operating out of the shadow frequency of my definition and therefore not living my design. Right? So we need to decondition the undefined centers and we need to do the shadow work on our definition, because the shadow work is the digging, is the pulling away of everything that isn't us, to find what is us. And what is us is our definition. So the shadow work is done on the definition. So obviously I have a process for this that I use, that you will learn in HDSS or HDST if you join us. We start in May. It's super cool process. HDSS is going to be, I know that this is going to be my new like obsession, because we have pods. So we have 3 support coaches. We have Whitney and Maureen and Sharon. All 3 are amazing. All 3 have been through my program. All 3 have been coached by me. All 3 have my support no matter what. And each coach has their own pod. So Sharon has a pod of 5 people that she coaches on Voxer, but also they still get all of these videos from me explaining how to do everything with the bodygraph and healing. They also get the shadow doc that I would do. And then they just get that extra support inside the pod. So we have a total of 15 spots. 5 spots are already taken. Sharon's pod is already full. So now we have Maureen and Whitney, and there's information about both of them on the sales page, which I will link. So you can pick your favorite coach, or just ask me, and I'm happy to kind of tell you where I think you'd be the best fit. And that's the whole community aspect, and it's the extra support, and it's one of my favorite parts about HDSS. But the videos, the knowledge, the information you're going to get about yourself is so incredible, so powerful. You're going to learn tools that you can use forever and ever and ever. And what I love about this is that we're not focusing on how do I teach this to someone else. We're not focusing on how can I do a shadow reading for someone else. That's HDST, which is also launching in May. But that's the shadow training. What we're focusing on here is ourselves in my healing era, right? Like it is all about me. It's all about me. We're looking inward. We're looking at ourselves. We are doing the deep healing work in 8 weeks that took me 10 years to do. Period. End of story. Mic drop. Okay. Back to the bodygraph. I digress. Okay, so I would look at the undefined centers, doing the deconditioning work on that, and then the shadow work on my definition, including my channels, because this is where my power is. This is where my strength is. Guys, look at all these channels I have. I felt so disconnected from these when I first read them. I'm like, none of this is me, because I was in the not self of my bridges and my undefined centers. So play around with these once, and strategy and authority, obviously. Once I have a really, really good understanding of my defined centers, my bridges, my undefined centers, and my channels, only then would I move into planets. And yes, I would 1,000% go to planets. Only then would I move into format energy and my nutrition. Only then would I move into format energy and regulating my nervous system, right? Because we can see by our root definition and our format energy how to regulate our nervous system, how our body, what our body really needs. And it's so important. And again, this is like another piece that I wish I had. I didn't get the nervous system regulation piece until like 3 years ago, maybe, after I started working with human design. Like it's so potent. It's so important. Like this is what I need for me. Like if you guys watch my stories, like I'm constantly doing things on the treadmill, because that is something I need for my 2838, my channel of struggle. It needs something to struggle with in the morning, or else the struggle is up here, if you know what I mean. You see this like tattoo I have here? I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is the struggle bus. It's like a face, and her mind is so messy. She's on the struggle bus. So that's something that we work on with you also in HDSS, how to find your path, your way to nervous system regulation. Because here's the fun. It's so hard to follow strategy and authority, which is in your body, when you cannot connect to your body, right? When your body is fighting you. When you are disconnected from your feelings and your emotions. but there's nuances. Like I got to do another episode on this because there's nuances. Like if you have an undefined solar plexus, I don't want you sitting there for hours trying to feel your feelings because they are not all yours. And when you're sitting there feeling your feelings, chances are you're intellectualizing your feelings and you're just creating stories out of feelings that aren't yours. And therefore those stories, you guessed it, not yours. So there's so many nuances that like I wish I could get into in every episode, but like I need you in front of me. I need to see your chart. We need to play. I need to teach you everything that I know, and then we can dive so deep. It's going to blow your mind. So only then, after strategy and authority and the nervous system regulation and all that stuff, would I go into planets. And again, I'm going to go into very specific ones. I'm going to look at my what I call the quadfecta, which is my conscious sun, my unconscious Mars, my unconscious Pluto, and my conscious Pluto. This is going to tell me who I am. Period. End of story. It's going to tell me where I'm going, where I was, what is my most prevalent not self behavior. This is everything I want to know. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that in HDSS. But if you want to hear about it, I could do another podcast episode about it as well. I'd lean into the moon, the conscious moon. Well, what are my trauma responses? How am I acting out right now? How am I acting out right now? And it's a trauma response, but I'm not recognizing it as such because it's become who I actually am, who I think I am. It's become who I think I am, right? I would look at Saturn. How do I punish myself? This is my punish me daddy gate. It hurts so good. How do I punish myself? I would look at my mommy and daddy gates, right? Like, where can I dig a little bit deeper? Who have I been conditioned by and how? And you guys I did a whole episode about family mapping. We get into that in HDSS as well. Like, when I tell you that this is the most robust healing program with like all of my latest research, it's so good. Like I'm so excited for it because this is what I wish I had. This is what I want everyone to have. Honestly, no matter where they are in their healing journey, because you're going to learn some shit. You're going to learn some shit. And I love that it's not about business. I love that it's not about making money. I love that it's because all of that shit you don't need, all of that shit figures itself out once you figure this out. And that's something that I understood by doing this work, right? Like I have 14-1 in my unconscious Mars. This is my core wound. This is my generational wound. This is my shadow genius. So money compromise is in my lineage, right? It's also mine. But 14-1 is money's not everything. And that is definitely something that I've learned through my bodygraph, through being in a gajillion different business courses and classes and doing all of the things to try to make more money, when that at the end of the day isn't actually what drives me. It's not actually what motivates me at all. It's impact that motivates me. It's making a difference. It's connection. It's that connection with all of you. Feeling like my trauma, my experiences, the shit I've been through has helped you in any kind of way, right? Like, and when you start to lean into who you actually are and what your energy actually is, like I got this 50 in my unconscious Pluto, like I'm here to create new ways of being through my values. I'm here to do this dark shadow work, but it's got to be through my values. It's got to be through who I am, doing it my way. So when you start to lean into who you actually are and follow your process that I'm going to show you how to find in your body graph, everything else just falls into place. It becomes irrelevant because it's a given. It's like, duh, I'm going to make money because I'm just being me. I'm allowing myself to just be me in all of these ways. So again, this is all of the fun things that we do in HDSS, but if I had to do it all over again, I would take HDSS, honestly. Like just the thought of having 8 weeks of where I get to just focus on me feels so cathartic and healing. Like 8 weeks of just me, and I don't have to worry about my business. Like, put your business on the side. Like, I know we have to make money to survive, but whatever, put it all on the side. Like, we're focusing mostly on you. Like, that feels good. I want to do this. I want to do this now. Okay. So that's my little how I would do, I would do it all over again if I had the body graph when I first started healing. I would want the support of coaches that know the body graph and can help me heal based on who I am, not based on what society tells us to do. So I think that's a really important caveat as well. Um, and yeah, I would love to answer any questions that you guys have. You know how to find me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you the video of from HDSS that I created with I love the visual of just walking through the sand and walking through the desert, and you're just like digging and you're looking and you're searching, and like, oh, I feel that in my bones. So I'm going to play that for you. I hope you join us for HDSS. We start May 15th. If you have questions, you know where to find me. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye. Let's talk about HDSS. Well, what is it? So I I have so many thoughts for this program. When I first started to think about what kind of journey I wanted to take you on, I thought about what kind of journey I have been on, but not in the sense of, from A to B to C to D. It was more of a movie. And the pictures, the imagery that came to me immediately were a desert, sand dunes. And it was somebody walking through the desert, somebody being I, you, and I, walking through the desert, and there's wind blowing, and the sand is in your eyes, and you're dehydrated, and you're tired, and you're searching, but you don't even know what you're searching for. You're just out here looking, and you start digging and digging and digging, and you're covered in sand, and your headpiece has come off, and now the sand is hitting you in the face, and you're still here digging, and you stop for a second and you ask yourself, what am I doing? What is all this for? What am I digging for? But yet you find yourself still digging and still looking for something, for something that feels like it's yours, for something that feels like you know it and it knows you. It feels like you belong here. It feels right. And, one of those things has been human design for me. It's been one of those systems, one of those processes where I go into it and I'm like, I see me. I see me. I belong here. We belong here. This makes sense. So, what I have done through my own journey through the desert is I have dug that hole too, looking for myself, looking for my place in the world, looking for my purpose, looking for my memories. And what I dug out of the sand metaphorically is the human design system. And what I've done with it is created a way for us to weave the system and the power of all of these ancient modalities in with who we've had to become, because I don't believe that we can just look at the body graph and say, this is my potential, this is who I am, this is who I am today, this is who I am tomorrow. There is so much more to it. Just like if I keep digging in that sand, and yes, I'm loving this metaphor, I'm going to find more and more and more depths. So we have found a way to use the human design system to really show you where you are today, or how you have come here, and validate that. Be okay with that. I accept that. I accept my traumas. I accept my upbringing. I accept the blame and the shame, and like I see it, and it's here. It's here, right? I see it. And I can pinpoint it in the body graph, which is why one of my favorite quotes that I use here as well is, girl, you don't have to prove anything to us. We believe you and we see it. And part of that is the validation that we're all looking for our trauma. Like, just witness me, just see me in this. And we do. We see you and we love you and we're going to work with you. So we take where we are today and we move through the body graph and all of these different processes and all of these different exercises that we have set up for you that work, because I've been doing this for years now and they work. And we move you through this system together as a group, as a pod, because you belong here. You belong here with us. If you are considering this program, then you belong here with us because you're part of our family. If you're even just considering this, we speak the same language. We got you. So we use these processes, these exercises to move through who we've had to be. And at all points, making sure that we accept, we acknowledge, we validate, we love, we show it the appreciation, the love that it deserves, because only then can we actually move forward into the frequency of our gift and our city and who we are meant to be. And as we, move through the desert, as we hike through the sand dunes, looking for ourselves, looking for the places where we belong, where we feel at home, where we feel like this is me. I know this bitch and I love her. And I have the confidence of 1,000 men. And I know that I can make anything happen. And I trust my intuition. Even in the desert, even with no compass, if my insides, my sacral, my soul, my intuition says go right, I'm going right. And I've got my back no matter what. So this little metaphor is just kind of to try to help you understand what this program is all about, because it's so hard to put it into words, but it's a searching and a finding, and you have found because you're here. And we would love to guide you through this 8-week journey into the desert of your soul, right? And we'd love to water you and hydrate you and feed you and nourish you as you go through these 8 weeks, digging into maybe some dark shit, but recognizing that you are brave and you are strong and you are better for it. And we're going to show you your genius, your brilliance, your purpose, your potential that has come from all of these experiences, in spite of them, because of them. So, real quick, practically, this is 8 weeks of digging into the body graph, looking at the psychology, looking at your traumas, looking at your conditionings, recognizing this is who I've had to be, and that's okay. I had to do this to survive. But now I am here to embody a new version of me, still me, but a new version of me, a different version of me, one that I choose, one that I can also validate in my body graph, because here's my brilliance and I can validate this. We're going to take you through the process, through modules and lots of videos and so much one-on-one attention and small group attention. So we have Voxer pods that are at most 5 people. So you get tons of attention, lots of questions being answered, whatever you need, lots of support. Tell us everything. We want to know everything. And then shadow docs. And the shadow docs are some of the most popular, it's one of the most popular processes that I've created. And I created this because I think it's so powerful to give you a prompt, let you write it, let you take time, let it show up in your environment, let it blow up your life for a minute. And then you come back to the doc and you type it out. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to look at it and I'm going to read it and I'm going to prompt you and I'm going to challenge you and I'm going to push you and I'm going to try to make you see it from a different perspective. Not because my way is right, but because I want you to have this awareness that's going to expand your mind and your subconscious so you can see everything around you in all the different realities. And this is how we have major breakthroughs. Major breakthroughs happen in the shadow doc every single time. So trust me, trust yourself that you came into this for a reason, that you found us for a reason. I can promise you that if you put in the work in 8 weeks, there's going to be a new version of you ready to emerge. You got to put in the work, you got to trust us, and you got to trust yourself. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I cannot wait to welcome you into the group.